Welcome back, everyone, to episode 28 of the They Fly Now Show podcast. And today we're going to be talking about Rey Skywalker and everything Rey, a little bit maybe what we want to see of Rey in the future, but we're going to be talking to Rey, getting a nice deep dive conversation with some amazing guests. So let's get into it. Hello, and welcome back to They Fly Now, Em. Wait.
Em?
Oh, hi.
No, you're good.
You're good.
You're good. It happens.
Em, how's it going? Welcome back.
Good. Thank you for having me back.
Of course.
I'm excited to be
Yeah, just real quick, tell everyone where we can find you. And what's your favorite Rey moment?
Okay. Hi, I'm Stardust M, or Emily. You can find me at TikTok at Stardust M or on Twitter at _Stardust M. Favorite Rey moment? I always go back to, the last scene with her yellow lightsaber, that's become a real favorite. And also I really love the Last Jedi cave scene.
Awesome. Yeah, Hereth, what's yours?
I would say probably I Am All the Jedi.
Yeah, that's what I'd have to say too. So good. I was in GameStop one time, and it was like right around when all of the second wave of Rise of Skywalker pops released, so probably around 6 months ago, and they had that one. I was like, should I get it? I ended up not, but I got the Rey gold lightsaber one. That one's so cool.
I have that one. I think I have all of the Last Jedi or the Rise of Skywalker Rey focus.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's see. I have Rey with a gold saber, Poe, and a random Knight of Ren. I don't know their names.
Hey, represent with the punt.
Hey, let's go. Hereth, what do you have? No, you don't collect pops.
I don't collect pop. The only one I have is the Ahsoka one.
Because you're a loser. You don't collect pops.
I collect books. Like a nerd.
Let's go. Trying to think. Yeah, the pop collection's getting big. All I need is Zeb, and the gauntlet is complete.
And then you got all the Ghost Crew.
Yeah. Real quick, let's shout out the chat. We got John Mann, St. Pat, Alvaro SD, Darth Man, Brian with the Beard, Xantos, Ace Bronx. Thank you guys all for showing up. We'll shout you out as people join. So, yeah, let's get into it. And also, Nico Skywalker is also coming on. He's just having some technical difficulties, so eventually he'll be on. Brian says, hey, it's Emily. And the usual too. Thanks. Darth Man says his favorite Rey moment is when she saves Finn from the monster in The Force Awakens.
Oh, the Raft Tower sequence?
Yeah. That's funny. Xantos, great topic for today. So, yeah. Let's get into Rey. So, Force Awakens Rey, it's really, really interesting. And I want Emma just kind of go off. What are your thoughts on the introduction? Because that introduction scene with Rey is really unique, and there's barely any words said that entire time, but it's done like perfectly. So what are your thoughts on that opening sequence right when we see Rey? And since it didn't come out too long ago, what were your opening thoughts, like whenever you were watching it, if you remember?
Well, The Force Awakens was my first Star Wars movie ever, actually.
Really?
Yeah. And I saw it in theaters opening night because my best friend had extra tickets. So I was like, yeah, I guess I'll go see the Star Wars movie. And I will say, it stuck with me because I pretty immediately liked Rey. And now I consider it one of like my favorite, and I think one of the best character intros in Star Wars. I think it's so great for displaying sort of the day-to-day monotony of Rey's life, and kind of how her life on Jakku looks like and how it's kind of sad. And especially like when we see her looking at the older woman when they're like washing the parts, and this like recognition of like, oh, this is kind of my future. But then I love when we see her put the helmet on as kind of this moment of like, it's clear that she wishes for more, that she, you know, chooses to stay on Jakku because she wants her family, but like it's not necessarily what she wanted for her life, and she maybe dreams of more and knows that there's more out there in the galaxy besides Tatooine or besides Jakku. And I feel like that's also a really, I think, nice parallel to Luke in A New Hope, and how his character is kind of introduced in a very similar way, like showing this kind of everyday life on Tatooine for him.
Yeah. To build off that, like I feel like people kind of always talk about like how Force Awakens is too similar to New Hope, which honestly I feel like it's the polar opposite, because like the character arcs for Rey is the polar opposite of Luke. Luke wanted to leave, Rey didn't want to leave. Like I feel like those two character arcs were made to contradict each other. Like they're completely polar opposites in that sense.
Yeah, and that's like on a surface level, sure, they may seem kind of similar, like pretty, I would say on the main story beats they are definitely similar, A New Hope and Force Awakens. But when you actually start to deep dive into the characters and you start to look at their motives and what's going on inside their mind, there's a lot of difference, and that's, I think, what makes them really special, is that they're putting these different character archetypes in a very similar style movie. So like there's always the comparison of Poe and Han, but like when you actually look at it, sure, they're both really good pilots, and if that's all you see, yeah, sure, they're a really good pilot, but it's more than that. Poe is a resistance, let's go guy, and Han doesn't want anything to have to do with it. Same thing with Rey. I would say Rey, for a lot of the part, is wanting to get off of Jakku, much like Luke. But then once she gets there, she wants to kind of just push the burden on to Luke and not having to do it. Like, that's a bad way to explain it, but
the first time she gets to talk to O'Donnell, the first thing she does when she sees the lightsaber, she just wants to get out. She's like, I'm done. I want to get out of here.
Yeah.
I want to go back to Jakku, where I grew up, like the familiar. Like she always wants to escape back to what she always knew, while Luke was always pushing to do something new.
Yes, and I think there's a really good Shakespeare quote that is, let me find it. It is, "Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and others have greatness thrust upon them." And I think it like perfectly shows the three main protagonists in Star Wars. So we have Anakin being, I guess you could say, the one who is born great. You have Luke being the one who achieves greatness, and then Rey is the one who kind of has greatness thrust upon them.
And I think it's interesting too, because like when you look at Luke and Anakin versus some of like the more Disney protagonists, we see that a lot, where like a lot of them there's a resistance to change or to get involved. It's the same thing that we see with Rey. I think that we see that with Mando a little bit as well. Not so much Han. I think he falls at least a little bit more into the I'm ready to get out and go type of attitude. But I really like that as a different main character. Is like, yeah, not everybody is itching for adventure. Some people really do fall in like their familiar routines, and also just like this idea of like that we see throughout this trilogy in particular of like the past and being able to let go of the past to go into the future. Because I think as much as, you know, when, I guess I'm skipping ahead, but when Kylo tells Rey, let go of the past or kill it if you have to, that's, you know, kill, you know, the girl you were on Jakku, let go of that. But also Kylo is clearly not letting go of his past, because as much as like he kills Snoke, and I think that's supposed to be significant, but like he's also very clearly holding on to like this vision of who Vader was, and like this past kind of conflict and feelings with his parents. And I also think that's a really interesting contrast between her and Kylo. Is like their past and how it affects their character arcs and then their dyad.
Yeah.
Again, like, I feel like even though yes, Rey lineage was a descendant of Palpatine, I feel like how I always look at Kylo versus Rey is Kylo was born as into the Solo Skywalker lineage, and he basically was thrust, like I said, thrust with greatness from the very beginning, while Rey had to earn it every single chance she got from all three movies from start to finish. Like I kind of like how like it kind of just contrasts this like how like Ben's arc, like it's just him doubting himself, of him being like, I don't want to do this because like I'm not supposed to be as great as the others, and Rey is like, I'm a no one who came from nothing, and now I'm supposed to be the person that saves everybody.
Well, yeah, I think like we see this like sort of in like as much as Kylo is trying to like eliminate himself from like at least the Skywalker Solo in the sense of like his parents and Luke, and more into like the Darth Vader Anakin end. It's interesting because we see his entitlement still to that legacy when it's the lightsaber, and he says that lightsaber is mine, but then it ends up going to Rey as like sort of the rightful person, I think, is like, and definitely in that moment is like the new person who is going to carry on the hope and light for the galaxy, just as Luke did in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the first scenes we see of Rey is whenever I guess it would be the old lady has BB-8. We really get to see how Rey is a super, super compassionate. It's like, no, what are you doing to that droid? Like, give me that back. Which is also something that like we don't see a ton from like the protagonist, is that she doesn't even know who this droid is, and already she's caring for it.
Yeah, and I love that because I think Rey has every reason not to be kind. Rey has every reason to put herself first when she's given the option to sell the droid for all those portions, and we see that moment of like, oh, I should do this. Like, she has every reason to always look out for herself first, but we see consistently that she places others above herself, and I think that again is a really great through line into like when we see her standing against Palpatine in The Rise of Skywalker, partially because her friends need help. Her friends are in trouble, and it's not just about her, it's about being able to save them.
Yeah. I completely just lost my train of thought. I don't know what I was gonna say.
But
yeah,
like,
Hereth, what do you have to say about that?
building on top of what Em was saying, like, I love how kind of like Palpatine is like when I know again I'm jumping a little bit far forward, but just kind of build what you're saying. I just love how in that sequence Palpatine's like taunting like how Vader killed him. He's like your master Luke Skywalker like was saved by his father, and then like Rey's just like throwing like no, I came here by myself to kill you, basically. Like this kind of like this like polar opposite, like trying to just throw in Palpatine's face, like trying to subvert like that. And again, I feel like people compare what, again, like I'm not talking about The Force Awakens, but like in Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, but I feel like people, it's obvious like that people like try to compare the three protagonists because it's really easy to, because like, okay, yes, this is our only like system to like compare the three of like Luke, Anakin, Rey, and if you look at it from that angle, Luke and Anakin have way more source materials than Rey, just to be honest. So, so I feel like it's like I love Rey as a character. I think she's by far one of the best characters from the sequel trilogy. But like when people are like complaining about that, I'm like, give it time, guys. Like we're gonna get more stuff with Rey eventually.
People are just really anxious when it comes to stuff, and then like not everything can be explained in a 2-hour movie. That's like, even if it's the most wonderfully written movie of all time, it's you still like are gonna have stuff that is not there. And for some reason, people, whenever it comes to these movies, they're like, oh, they're horrible. It's like, no, they're not. The freaking prequels had to have a 7-series show that spanned upon 13 years to explain a big gap of information. Like, it just makes me so mad.
And like the sequel trilogy is getting shows like The Mandalorian and like all these other Disney Plus shows, because people don't realize it, but that's what they're doing. They're here to support the sequel trilogy and give explanation and context to these films when they need more of it.
Yeah, I think extra material is always good. I didn't like Han until I saw Solo. That was the first time that I even considered, and what made Han a favorite character of mine. So even though I think that Rey's arc was really well done in the sequel trilogy, and for the most part, it is a very complete arc. And maybe we can talk about this later, how I don't think, like, I've heard some people kind of argue that maybe the Rey Palpatine thing is, like, it retcons and it makes Rey's arc not right, but I disagree with that. But maybe we can get into that maybe when we talk about Rise of Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, for sure. But kind of just, again, diving back into Force Awakens, I feel like, again, we talked about her introduction, but let's just talk about from, obviously we talked about her introduction, so let's jump a little bit forward to, let's say Takodana, that kind of area.
Well, I think the first big thing that people get so mad about is her being able to fly the Falcon.
So stupid.
She literally talked about this 2 minutes ago.
And then she crashes the Falcon. That's the first thing she does.
She crashes it. Like, no, she does not. It makes me so mad.
It's like, when we see her, like, this evidence of, like, well, she knows the Falcon. Like, she says that she worked on it. She clearly has, like, knowledge of, like, ships and stuff, because she knows what parts. She sells parts, so you have to assume that she knows which parts are valuable. She says she worked on the ship with Unkar Plutt. I guess additional canon information suggests that, like, she did flight simulators. I don't know. I guess in my opinion, flying to me in Star Wars is so much like driving that, like, I just kind of assume that most people in Star Wars would know how to fly.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my assumption. I was like, even if they don't fly well, I just kind of assume that, like, they know how to fly, and if you, like, driven like this kind of like hover speeder thing, then you can, like, kind of manage everything else. That's my assumption. Like, I don't ever, like, when somebody flies a ship, I'm never like, oh wait, what? How did they know how to do that? Where did they learn that? I'm just like, oh, it's like a car.
Yeah, and I feel like people, like, too heavily go on, like, oh, how did Rey learn to fly? I'm like, she has more flight experience than Luke in A New Hope. Luke goes, oh, I fly a T-16 high Skyhopper, and that's it. We don't hear anything else, and he goes and destroys the Death Star in his first go.
Anakin is a 5, 6, or 9-year-old kid.
5-year-old?
5-year-old. 9-year-old. He's 9.
Maybe not 5-year-old. 9-year-old kid who never. I mean, he has experience with a speeder, but, like, he's never flown in space before. How the heck could he blow that up? No one hates on Anakin, and Rey, who does something way worse than the other two protagonists, is the one that gets hate on it. Like, what?
It just makes no sense.
She literally runs over, like, half of Unkar Plutt's stuff, and then gets off the air, and it's still, like, wobbling sideways. You're like,
and like, what do you? And when she gets in the Falcon, the first thing she says is, I can do this. Like really uncomfortable. Like, you can tell, like, she's not confident about any of this. So is Finn.
Yeah. And then moving forward, so Rey, and then everyone meets up with Han, which I think is such a cool scene, because she's like, "You're the Han Solo." What about that?
I love Han and Rey's relationship. It's one of my favorites. I really like how Rey gets mentored by all 3 of the original trilogy characters, but there's something, I think, Rey and Han hold a very special place in my heart for whatever reason, where I just really love them. I love that. I think immediately Han sees a lot of himself and Kira in Rey. He sees, a kid who's struggling to survive, who has lost their family, and is now, offering her a chance that, like, he probably wished that he had. That, like, he probably wished he didn't have to join the Empire to get off of Corellia. or have to lose people. I see that very immediately, and I love that. I love how I like that scene a lot where he I think Han in The Force Awakens is really great, and I like that scene where you can still kind of see some of that old Han where he's like, oh, this bullshit, there's people on my ship, I don't want to what are these kids? But I also like how, because he's Han, and just kind of, I feel like he did with Leia and Luke, he kind of immediately takes Rey and Finn under his wing, and I love that. I like how that's a character trait that we see very consistently with Han, that like, as much as he tries to play himself off like he's this like cool smuggler guy who doesn't need anybody, it's very clear that he wants a family and he wants people, and he's willing to be a support system and take care of people. I think, Leia, I think in Bloodline, talked about how like after everything in A New Hope, Han was really supportive of Luke and Leia, and like kind of getting past what they had experienced, and I think that is seen again with Rey. And yeah, I think in a fun alternate universe, Rey got to go be a smuggler with Han and Chewie. That's my Star Wars what if is Han and Rey get to go off in the galaxy, and she gets to learn everything from him and listen to all of his definitely embellished stories.
Yeah, no, that'd actually be a really, really good what if. Like, what if they just didn't do anything? But yeah, I finished reading Bloodline like a few weeks ago, and man, that book clears up a ton on Han, because like there's a lot of misconceptions that Han didn't want to like be there, and it's like, no, Han did, but like just duty called and he couldn't be there. So then whenever he does see Rey, he's like, okay, now I might actually get a chance that I could start and like mentor this girl, which would be really great.
And like I do wonder if like he does see a little bit of a second chance with her that like he didn't have with his son, because of the choices that they made, which like I know there's a lot of hot debate on that. I don't necessarily think that Han and Leia are bad parents. I think they were doing what they thought was best, and also like they led very different lifestyles. It's hard, but I think that Han, and I think Leia too, a little bit too, definitely sees Rey as like this chance to try again, and also as Leia kind of says, like through Rey, she has a chance to save her son. She has a chance to bring her son back. Which I think is very lovely, and I love that Han and Leia become kind of parental figures to Rey once again, as and I think it's cool too, looking at then the lessons, the fact that like we have Kylo, who was raised by the three of them, and then Rey, who was, and kind of like the lessons that Rey was so desperate for like a family and people to love her and care for her, that she pretty immediately attached herself to Han. And Kylo has a lot of these mixed and feelings about his father. And like we said in The Last Jedi, but I like the different sides of that, and like the lessons that were taken away, because I think at least for Luke and Han too in this trilogy, it's a lot about how they can make up, I guess, for the mistakes of their past, and how they can do that by sort of passing their legacy to Rey.
Yeah.
Or Kylo.
No, yeah, definitely. Hereth, what about you? I know you kind of hopped out.
No, I was gonna say for the Han and Leia relationship to Rey, I was thinking back to the Leia episode when we were talking about how Leia has to come to conflict with the fact that she is a descendant of Vader, and Rey has to come to conflict by the end of the trilogy that she's a descendant of Palpatine. So I feel like Leia being Rey's master was the perfect kind of natural step to what the trilogy was going for.
That's such a good point.
It actually is a really, really good point.
I didn't even fully make that connection, but yeah, because that's the whole thing is, I think Black and Bloodlines too, like Leia has this moment of like, oh, do I have this evil inside me because I'm related to someone who kind of did all this evil? And I think that's so nice about The Rise of Skywalker is like when Luke kind of says like, Leia recognized that like it's stronger than blood, and that's because like of the fact that
taught
like,
her.
yeah, who taught her, and the fact that like Luke and Leia are not currently Sith Lords.
Yeah. And I mean, they were together for a year. I'm sure eventually that kind of got brought up because in Bloodline, once it gets public, everything kind of goes crap for Leia, and she has to learn how to deal with this. And I'm sure there's a ton of lessons that she learned that were then passed on to Rey. Check up with the chat real quick. He probably did fly at 5. He was on autopilot in his defense. Chris says, hey, that's mine, Uncarplet. Anakin the Phantom Menace is the equivalent of a 9-year-old winning an entire NASCAR race and then fighting in a war. Han had his Woody Harrelson moment. He helped her to help herself. And St. Pat, what is going on? Thank you for joining.
I saw Connor asked, what did we think of?
Oh yeah,
theories?
The Rey Nobody. Again, I think I agree with them on this.
I thought the parentage theories were fun for like a hot minute, and then I was like, I'm over this. And I was like, not every brunette woman or man with a British accent is related to Rey. It's not happening. And I end up disliking a vast majority of the parentage theories, either for like, please give me one good reason why Jyn Erso would abandon her child. To it's just not the most exciting choice. Like I kind of have a controversial opinion that I don't like Rey Kenobi. I understand if Julie is out there for the Corky, but I think it's kind of. I think it comes off as more to Rey Kenobi always came off as a little bit more fan service-y to me. And I think people were always like, but the dyad between Kenobi and Skywalker, that doesn't mean sorry, that doesn't mean anything to Rey. Rey frankly doesn't care who her grandfather was and if he was a great Jedi. Like that's all great and fine.
She's a great Jedi. Did you say he was a great Jedi?
No.
A great
Jedi. I didn't say great Jedi.
She's wondering why her parents abandoned her on Jakku, and if they're still alive and she can still have a family. Ben Kenobi's been dead for how many years at this point? Like I think as cool as it would have been maybe for fans, I think for Rey as a character, it actually doesn't do much. And it also doesn't, I think, push her maybe in the way that Palpatine does, where she has to reckon with like, I have this evil, or if I'm related to this great evil, does that mean that I'm like kind of destined for this? And the lesson that like it is stronger, like some things are stronger than blood, which I don't feel that she really learns if she's a Kenobi, because it's like Kenobi was good, he was a good Jedi, and he made mistakes, like generally good guy, and so you'll be a good guy too.
Yeah,
that was my
and then moving forward, we get Rey on Takodana when she picks up the lightsaber. Oh, that scene is so freaking cool. Who all does she see in that flashback? Or I guess in
the vision sequence, the Force Awakens, she sees Luke versus Vader. And then she sees the Knights of Ren. She sees her running through the Starkiller base with Obi-Wan's voice. You also hear a bit of Palpatine in there. I was really listening to that, but you could hear a little bit. It's very subtle.
Oh, really? You see Luke put his hand on R2.
Yeah, from Last Jedi.
Oh yeah, the temple.
Yeah, which is super, super cool. And then right after, she's like, "Nope, I don't want to have anything to do with this." He's like, "I am it's like a SpongeBob meme. He's like, I'm a head out now."
I think, yeah, it's also sad because like that scene before too, like if you think about it, like too, she kind of started to trust Finn, and then he was like, "I'm dipping," and that's like once again, I think like a person who's leaving her, who like this one person like she thinks finally can maybe be like her friend, and then he's saying that he's gonna leave. So then we have like that followed immediately by like, hey, here's this like huge life-changing thing, and now you have the responsibility of defeating Kylo Ren. And she's like, nope, actually, I'm good. I'm just gonna go back I'm chill there.
Yeah. Again, like what you're saying with that is like I remember when I was watching Force Awakens after it came out, and like when the film came out on like Blu-ray or digital, I remember like rewatching the vision sequence over and over again, see if I could pick up anything new.
That's funny.
Because I was like,
I'm sure a lot of people did.
Because like there was every time I watched it, there was something new I'd pick up on it. Because I also love that sequence in Rise of Skywalker with the visions. I just love vision sequences in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh my, the Rise of Skywalker vision sequence is insane. Darth Vader says seeing psychometry at work is always a win. That is facts. Jedi Fallen Order is also amazing with psychometry. Such a cool force ability.
Yeah. I love how they kind of, again, they didn't really describe it in the sequel trilogy, but I love how Fallen Order kind of like touches on that, like because like Rey has it and Cal has it.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to touch objects and like feel like their past trauma and like what happened with that.
Yep.
I guess I did not realize that was what was happening. That's cool. I did not know that was an ability Rey had.
Because then
well, yeah, that's because she can see the saber.
Because she touches the Skywalker
I
saber.
thought that was something else with the Force.
And then in the Rise of Skywalker, she touches the Ochi's dagger, and then she feels the trauma with that.
I guess I didn't realize that was like a specific special ability. I guess I thought it was kind of just a Force.
Yeah, it's just like not clear out said, like it's not said anywhere in the movies that she has it, but like, wait, she's doing this thing that Cal's doing. What other Jedi can do that?
It's just Rey, Cal, and Rey, and also Dragon 86 says Quinlan Voss has that ability too.
Yeah, so I was literally just gonna say Quinlan Voss.
That's quite a trio.
Yep. Am I in it?
Hello.
What we here?
Hey, it's Chris.
Chris, thanks for joining. We audibled real quick because it was taking Nico a minute to get on. We might be having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, I heard we were talking about my girl.
Oh my gosh. You guys both have one?
Let's go.
Where are they from?
I think this is the Black Series one. I got
Mine. Mine's level up lightsabers.
Can I see a close up of the level up one? Because that is fire. Oh,
Good.
that is so sweet.
I do feel like if Chris is here, I don't want to take over, but we do have to, I think, hit on what is one of my favorite parts of the sequel trilogy, which is the relationship between Finn and Rey.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Because I absolutely love them so much. I like that even when they're apart in The Last Jedi, it's very clear that they are still thinking about each other, and they're kind of always motivated by protecting one another, which I think is really good. And I love their friendship in The Force Awakens, specifically like when he comes to rescue her and she's just so happy that someone like cared enough about her, because they're two people who really never had anyone, or for a long time have not had someone who cared about them or was like even interested in getting to know them as a person, and then they are able to find each other, and I think that's really beautiful. And I also love their dynamic so much. I like that their first scene is also one of my favorites. It's like the comfort Star Wars scene when he keeps trying to grab her hand and he's like, I want to run.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead,
Change
change over the scenes. We can't see Chris. Draco just said, "God, is that you?"
God, I got him in there. Sorry.
It's fine. You can just hear my voice. I think either way you look at their friendship or their relationship, whether you think at a romantic or platonic, it's beautiful either way. There's such just a purity there. And I love that fact that, J.J. Abrams talked about like how Rey and Finn were not supposed to be that like friendly right off the bat. They're supposed to like keep that like antagonistic spirit where she like throughout the entirety of The Force Awakens, and then he saw John Boyega and Daisy Ridley and he's like, all right, let me do some rewrites. And I think, like Emily was saying, they both have that, someone looking at them like more than just a number or more than just, a scavenger, like someone that actually cares about them. And what kills me every time in The Last Jedi is when Finn is going up or down in the elevator and Rey is going up, and I'm like, they're right next to each other, sense each other every time. And it doesn't. I'm like,
Their hug in The Last Jedi, when they, like, the first thing that Finn does when he sees Rey is just go over and hug her. And I love that. And, like, when she's leaving to see Kylo, she's like, to go to Kylo, she tells Chewie to, tell Finn. And, like, that's, like, they're always, they always very, like, deeply care about each other, even when they're not with each other. And I think that it adds so much to both of their characters, I think. And then I also like how then like it's kind of this dynamic, how Finn becomes like kind of this bridge between Poe and Rey, where they're both, I like that they're like, we both love Finn a lot, so we will tolerate each other.
The Finn and Rey and Poe are the sunshine.
Exactly. It's Finn defense squad.
I love the scene in Red Skywalker, the hug.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's like it makes me feel so good.
That's just gonna be a bunch of us at Celebration when we all finally get to meet.
If COVID's not a problem.
We're not talking about that. We're assuming it's not gonna be a problem.
And if we all get tickets, because
you know what, y'all? I put something beautiful out there, and you're harshing the mood, guys.
Mistakes.
Hey, I already have a hotel booked, so let's hope it works.
So then speak positively, Carter. Speak positively.
That was not Carter, that was me.
Well, he joined in. The two of you.
I couldn't get tickets, or I don't know if tickets are on sale yet.
They're not on sale yet.
We're still.
Oh.
We're all just
I guess I'll try. I thought they had already been on sale, so I was like, oh, I missed it and I can't go. I might try then.
So my theory is that we're not going to hear about when tickets are going on sale for another like 2.5 weeks, because fan panel applications were due at the end of today. I'm not sure whether that's Pacific or Eastern, and they said you'll hear as late as March 1st. With fan panels, each panel participant gets one free ticket for the day that they're on. Once they figure out how many free tickets they give out, then they'll know how many they can sell. And then once they have that number, they'll be like, all right, here's your 2-week or 1-month warning. Get ready, nerds.
I feel like I have to go because it might be it might actually have like Andor content.
Oh my god, if there's an Andor panel.
I was like, I have to go because I was like, that's why I was trying to, like, as I was thinking about it in the first place, because I was like, this year would be the year with the Andor stuff, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you near Anaheim?
Kind of. I'm in Oregon, so.
Oh,
wow.
Okay, nice.
Oh, you're near Hereth.
Oh,
West Coast people.
I'm in Washington.
Oh!
Coast gang.
Because you're like, oh, it's PSD. I was like, oh, I wonder where she's at.
No, yeah, because I'm in PSD.
But let's get back to The Force Awakens. So after the lightsaber scene, and then it's Rey and Kylo, which is scary. Like, that scene is really freaking scary, and he's just, like, chasing her down, and then the lightsaber's right in front of her face. So what are you guys' thoughts on that scene and everything Rey up until then? But I think that's the next scene after the lightsaber scene, because then Takodana starts getting attacked. Chris, if you want to go first.
So yeah, when I'm watching and she's upset with Finn, and I'm just like, Finn, go talk to her, go get her, because she's gonna go, and then Kylo Ren shows up, and I'm like, well, I guess we're not gonna see Rey for a few minutes. And then she's like, all right, safety. That scene gets me every time, where she's just like, all right, safety. Because it's not something we think about in Star Wars. We think just like, oh, point blaster, you're just like, there's no safety on this. You just point and shoot. But and then, he freezes her, and I'm like, oh, so that works on people too. Terrifying.
Terrifying.
I feel like that moment on Takodana, I don't know why, every time when Takodana starts getting attacked, the score in that sequence of Kylo just coming in, underrated Star Wars moment score wise, because the score, the First Order theme just playing always gets me hyped every single time.
There's great suspense in that scene too, where she keeps trying to shoot at him, and yeah. I think it's a really good first interaction for them, and I think for displaying how big of a threat Kylo is, and for Rey to kind of go up against, especially as someone who is just now realizing that she is force sensitive, versus Kylo, who is been trained by Luke Skywalker and has been a half Sith for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for
yeah,
sure.
And there's that scene, so I don't know what you call them, the mossy rocks, and she's standing there pointing her blaster, and then Kylo just comes out and goes and you're like, ah! It kind of mirrors whenever Luke is fighting Vader, and Vader's his respirator off and his lightsaber off, and then he just appears and ignites his lightsaber. It's the same thing. Kylo's disappeared for a minute, and Rey's looking around where's he gonna be? And then Kylo just pops out.
We know how much those Skywalker men love their dramatic entrances.
First scene of the movie.
Oh yeah, 100%. I also think it's interesting how, if you break down Rey and Kylo's interactions into three, there's the shift in each character, where Rey is a complete lack of confidence at that moment, Kylo thinking he's the man in the forest, and then the next time they meet, Kylo still thinks he's the man, Rey's feeling a little bit more defiant, and there's the flip.
Mm-hmm.
And then because Kylo got berated for taking Rey and not finding the droid, and so it's just a inverse of until we get to the final lightsaber fight.
Yeah,
for sure.
And also this moment shows, whenever he has her frozen, that if Kylo really wanted to kill Rey, he would have just killed her there.
Yeah.
And going up, whenever we're talking later on, when we start talking about that duel, that Kylo didn't want to kill her, and this is the first instance of that, because we see that if he wanted, he could have killed her so easily. Would have, I could have killed her if she was frozen like that, and he doesn't. So that's kind of the first hint that we see in that. And I guess he did want to interrogate her and everything, but if he really wanted to kill her, he could have just killed her there.
But I also think I do think that he probably senses something in her, and also
Yeah.
I do think probably if we're looking back now, that might have been this moment of the dyad kind of activating, because I know there had been moments that we see moments before in the Rise of Kylo Ren comic, but this moment of there's something about this random girl that I'm picking up on this planet.
Yeah. And then
yeah.
Oh, sorry, Chris. Let me cut you off.
Oh no, I was just gonna say Kylo Ren sleep paralysis demon.
But it kind of building on what M says, so kind of moving forward to the Rey and Kylo sequence of Kylo probing her mind. That, I would say that's also the moment where I would say the diet kind of truly shows itself. Really, you're when Rey's ability to adapt and change.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think.
And then,
it's so
and then, because then we have the whole interrogation scene, which is really, really, really intense. Yeah.
I can't lie. When I first was watching that movie, when Adam Driver takes off the helmet, I'm just like, oh, I'm not scared of you anymore. I went to school with kids that look like you. Oh, you're fine.
It looks like I don't get. I just don't like see how he's that attractive.
I think he's very attractive.
But he looks like a wet dog.
He really doesn't. I think he's very attractive, and
Making no comments, especially on the wet dog remark.
I feel like the reaction was like, it's like oh god, he's hot. Like, why is he there? And that's how you knew that that Kylo was gonna be redeemed eventually, because he wasn't like crusty, and he wasn't ever horribly deformed. Like, he gets the scar, but then he wasn't ever like horribly deformed throughout the series. And I think that if that had happened, then they still wanted to have their attractive Ben Solo moment. That was their foresight.
I mean, even if he did get horribly deformed, you know, she healed him. She healed the scar too. It would have been fine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then, you know, you wouldn't have had that moment where, you know, he walks through the water on that planet, and there, you know, just every Adam Driver stand was just, oh.
But are you saying during the Rey?
The Rey Kylo fighting.
He looks like a wet dog. He looks like a wet dog.
I'm
He's
sorry.
all soap and mopey and like.
I'm sorry, Kurt. There, if you put it out, if you put that image up there, and you just say Adam Driver stands, have at it, that picture is not going to exist in 0.2 seconds.
Then
I don't get it.
Sometimes you don't have to. Sometimes you just gotta look at what you're given and just be like, alright, I guess.
Fair enough.
But again, kind of moving a little bit forward into that sequence. This might sound really weird, but I was talking about this with, again, and I keep going back to Jedi Spark Malik every time we're in VC. He was talking about how Battlefront 2 weirdly enhances the sequence between Rey and Kylo, like, in Kylo's mind. Because, like, you know how it works, because, like, Kylo's, like, chasing Rey through her memories. It's, like, creepily weird, because, like, the way you think about, like, how it works, like, I just imagine how, like what that would look like. Like, how that, like, them fighting each other in the visions.
Be some sandy memories.
With some Freddy Krueger mixing in there.
Darth Man, I love this comment. He says, "Don't argue with women. My wife just recently told me that she wished I was more like Adam Driver." I'm so sorry, Darth Man.
Rip.
F in the chat first. Rip
in the chat.
But,
so is that how that works? He's sifting through the memories of Rey?
Yes, and he's appearing. Like, if you play the Battlefront 2 campaign, Kylo Ren, when he's interrogating, I forget the guy's name, Del, part of Inferno Squadron, he goes through his memories. Like, he's chasing him through Scarif. He sees Luke. He's chasing after him through his memories.
Huh. I haven't finished that campaign. Kylo's in that campaign?
Mm-hmm.
It's the last mission of the story mode.
It's the epilogue scene.
Huh.
Yeah.
So there's like a time jump then.
Correct.
Yeah, and the DLC takes place in between 8 and 9, I think.
Yeah, it's what's it called? I'll come back to me. But like, yeah, again, I feel like that also kind of enhances it. But just again, moving. Oh, again, I know I keep jumping around a lot.
No, you're all good.
Then when it comes to like Rey in the Starkiller base when she's sneaking around, again, like I feel like that goes back to her as a child or like as a teenager and child on Jakku when she was scavenging around Star Destroyers. Like she just knows where the red mists to hide are.
Mm-hmm.
Because like
and like doing that for 14 years, is it? Like you're gonna learn, even if it's not on your home planet, you're gonna learn like just about where everything is. There's one thing in that sequence is, it's how did I think it's Kylo like somehow gets, like, do he like teleports during Starkiller Base? I swear he goes from like the bottom to the top in like 0.3 seconds. I think it's Kylo, right?
Yeah.
The only thing that gets me is when Rey goes into that one panel that slides out, and then she goes in, and I'm just like, every time I just imagine like that coming back in and her just not having anywhere to go. It's just like, I don't need that visual. Why couldn't you just say it was just a flat panel? It's like the spikes and everything. I was like, no.
Yeah.
Then again, sorry.
St. Pat says Rey free climbing Starkiller base is one of the best things.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I also love the scene when Finn's like, "Where's Rey?" and like Han just like taps him and just points to where she's at. I feel like that's a really good Finn moment.
Yeah. And on Starkiller base, obviously the big thing, Han dying is, I think, where we start to see like the first super major thing in the movie with Rey. She's like, wow, this guy who was like basically gonna adopt me into his family, or wanted to, now gets unalived. And she's like, and Daisy's like acting performance from that is incredible.
I wish we got the snow chase scene.
Oh yeah, the deleted scene where they're chasing through Circular Base on like the speeders.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good scene that should stay in. I mean, I think we should get extended cuts of every Star Wars movie, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think it's,
yeah.
I think it's a perfect like motivating moment. Yeah, because like not only has Kylo now taken a person that she thought could maybe be her family, but I think she now sees Kylo more. Like once again, it just reinforces Kylo as this threat that she needs to fight, because he just killed his own dad. Like that's a lot. And like regardless of like her personal feelings on like Han, I think like her saying like that, him having the willpower, I guess, to do that, no matter how conflicted he still was after, like I think cements this moment of like Rey like needing to get involved and needing to be the person who can defeat him, because she at this point is like I guess besides Luke, but like she actually has like the skills and can be trained to face him in a way that like the Resistance just can't, because they're not Jedi.
Yeah. And again, are we still talking about the Circular Base duel? Sorry, like I was out for a couple seconds.
Oh yeah.
Again, I feel like going back to like what we were talking about earlier about like Rey's lineage making sense as like a Palpatine. Again, it wasn't until Chris pointed this out on the lightsaber duel episode in the Force Awakens novelization. You hear Palpatine's voice in the duel. He literally says,
"That'll be an audiobook."
Yeah, in the audiobook, Mark Thompson does it in Palpatine's voice. Like as like Rey's like pouncing around him, you hear Palpatine say, "Kill him, Rey."
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh,
Yeah,
and the
no, because I was just gonna say, yeah, because she's just like, yes, Skywalker boy is like, you know, he's a nice have, but I've had one of those before. I haven't had a granddaughter. Come, join me. Do it.
And like that whole fight gets so much stupid hate. And
underrated duel in Star Wars.
It's I think probably all of the sequel trilogy ones are my favorite actually, but that one in particular is so good. I think once again it shows a lot of Rey's stubbornness, which I think is something that is both a flaw and a benefit to her, because her stubbornness is also what caused her to stay on Jakku alone for so many years, and kind of miss out and not let go of the past. But in this moment, her stubbornness, her unwillingness to give up in this fight against someone who is more powerful and more skilled, and this is the first time she is holding this weapon, just I think is such a great part of her character that is so consistent throughout the trilogy, and is just so good here, and this unwillingness to side with Kylo no matter what. I mean, now mostly because she just saw him kill the guy that she was thinking could be a father figure, but and the moment that lightsaber flies into her hand,
Oh, the
I
cheers.
was so
Goosebumps.
hyped in the theater.
like it is
So
it's such a fantastic moment, and it's such the perfect like finale climax moment for her as a character in this movie, as like she is finally picking up the saber. She is in that moment. It's a recognition of like her starting to accept her path as a Jedi, and it's so good. And then also like this idea too that was like, it's like Kylo feels so entitled to it, and now you have this nobody scavenger who's coming and taking away like his family's lightsaber. And also a really great moment then if you consider it's like the Skywalker legacy saber, and then she ends up taking the name Skywalker later on. That's also a really great moment. It's like it is the Skywalker coming, or it's the saber coming to like the true Skywalker in that moment.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And again, kind of moving a little bit more forward into the film, obviously the Force Awakens ending, meeting with Luke Skywalker, and obviously transitioning into Last Jedi. I feel like
I just remember before I
Are
saw
we getting-
Last Jedi.
We getting books? Hold on.
we get novelizations to be in particular.
I remember just thinking before I saw Last Jedi, I was like, please start with her holding out the lightsaber. Please start with her holding out the lightsaber.
I'm just like, I'm just imagining Chris is gonna pull out like 50 books, be like, ugh.
Well, that's another perfect going into Light of the Jedi. If we think about her perfect stubbornness, is her unwillingness to leave Luke even after he says get lost. She's like, nah, I'm here on a mission. I'm here to figure out who I am, and so you're gonna tell me, or I'm just gonna keep following you around. I was like, and I think that's once again like that's her stubbornness in a positive way coming out.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
I've heard great things about Rise Skywalker novelization. Is the Last Jedi one good?
They're all good.
Yes. I bought this, I think, or I pre-ordered it like the minute I got out of the theater because I loved The Last Jedi that much. After the second time I saw it, which was like a day later.
Huh. Now, does the novelization canonize the deleted scenes?
Yes.
It only has 2 deleted scenes. It doesn't have the Finn Phasma one.
It
It has the third lesson, which I absolutely love. And then some of the other like more fun deleted scenes on Octo.
Does it have what's his name? Malik's favorite little guy.
Oh,
Why
can
am I
I
forgetting Ked Pincha Clop? Does it have Ked Pincha?
I thought that was that what he was saying. It was in the novelization, or no? Is the Canto
I think
Bible?
I thought that was in something else.
The Canto Bible.
No, but is the Ked Pincha deleted scene in The Last Jedi?
I don't think so.
No, it's not in here. It's,
Last Jedi novelization. Okay.
but yeah,
Charcos. Sorry. Charco says it contains all the lessons for the one thing. Darth Man says get Element 7 on the phone. Yeah, Element, where you at? Where you at, Element? Fern. But yeah, moving into The Last Jedi.
Just-
Rey is really taken, like, she's like, wait, what are you doing? What you doing? What do you guys think about that whole first thing? Because I know it caught me by surprise whenever Luke threw that lightsaber backwards. And I think that's where a lot of the hate started to stream from, was everyone had their vision for all these years, like, oh, Luke's gonna hold it, and then he's gonna do all these, like, who knows what with it, and then he throws backwards, and half the audience was just like, well, this movie sucks, and then they have that mentality for the rest of the movie.
My theater laughed both times. Well, the first 2 times, I don't remember the third.
Really?
But yeah, they laughed. They thought it was funny, because even if it was like he was still gonna be, if he hadn't cut himself off from the Force or everything like that, he was still just like, Okay, I have one. Why do I need this? The last time I saw this, I got my hand cut off. I don't need this.
I remember my theater, like, we all gasped at the same time.
That's same here.
We were like,
I think, yeah. I think you like people just for some reason were like, oh yeah, this movie sucks. But yes, oh, sorry.
I like grumpy old man Luke versus Rey, who's just one of like, I'm here to learn dynamic.
He's like, well, I'm not gonna teach you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Again, I think like Carter says, I think that was the moment when everyone just was like, "Oh, this movie sucks." Like, no one, like, I think after that point, people were just checked out.
Yep.
But it's so great because that was like, it's not only wasn't maybe not the audience's expectations, but it wasn't Rey's either. Rey was expecting to find, the Luke Skywalker that she had heard about all those years in Legends, and instead she gets this one who's just like wandering around his island and doesn't want to teach her the Force. And I think it's a good dynamic to have, and like this idea too that like heroes are not always
perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, heroes are not always heroes, and they're not always gonna, and heroes don't just live in their greatest moments. Like, like if we're just thinking like movie wise, the last time we saw Luke, he was riding a real high. He just defeated Palpatine, and the Death Star is gone, and now him and all his friends are safe. But like, it's been 30 years since that. Of course, his character is going to go through some changes, and like that's the lesson. Like, just as Rey has to learn that he's different and he's changed, like so does the audience.
Yes. Jimmy Turtle says in the chat, he says, Luke throwing the lightsaber made sense to me. He felt like he failed the Jedi and his family. He abandoned the role as a hero. Seeing his father's lightsaber only reminded him of his failure. Yeah.
Well said.
Well said.
It's his Yoda moment. We know Yoda just does not care about lightsabers post Revenge of the Sith. Neither did Palpatine, but that's for a different reason. Palpatine thought it was beneath him.
And when you really think about it, all of Luke's great things were not with a lightsaber. One of his probably greatest moment of his life was when he threw the lightsaber down, not whenever he picked it up.
I still get mad at that moment in Return of the Jedi. I was like, you could have just hilted it. You could have just put it on your belt. You would have been fine. He's just like, nah, I don't need this anymore. And the Emperor's like, okay, yeet.
Then again, kind of moving forward, again we talked about like Rey's kind of like attachment to Luke, and then kind of moving forward into Rey's kind of arc with Luke. Let's talk about the kind of first lesson with Rey and Luke, of Luke teaching Rey about balance in the Force and like light versus darkness.
You mean the movie Teaching the Fanboys?
Yes, that one.
Because it's not power, it's about balance. And I think Luke sees his former self in Rey, when Luke, not necessarily when Luke was talking to Obi-Wan, but when Luke was talking to Yoda, and that lack of patience, because there's that youthful eagerness. They were both young. Rey's 19, he was 22. They're heroes in the Resistance. They helped beat evil, and now they're just like, all right, I'm ready for the next step. And he's like, no, you need to go back to step -1.
Yeah.
I always laugh at the joke when Luke's like reach out, and like she actually physically reaches out.
She's like, I can feel it. I can feel it. He smacks her in the hand.
He did that before. I'm just waiting for when we get No, not even Grogu. I'm waiting for us to like go back and get like a young Ben Solo, and Ben did the exact same thing.
He did it with Leia, and then Leia hit him right back.
Oh, he would have been like slap. Leia would have went like, what?
Scramble like an egg before you get folded. Punches in the face.
Yes.
And then obviously in that same sequence we get kind of like our nice first foreshadow of the sequel trilogy when Rey goes straight to the dark side. Like she goes right to the cave. That's like her first like instinct.
I do not get the cave scene. I want someone to explain it. I've thought about it so many times, and I just don't get it. I want to get it, but I just.
So the cave scene is supposed to represent. It's kind of like the. It's kind of like her Luke moment where Luke like cuts off the head and he sees like his face in the Vader mask. It's supposed to be this. Her greatest fear is that she is alone and that she only has herself to rely on. That is her greatest fear in life. That's why she asked who her parents are. It doesn't show her. She wants to not have to just like rely on herself, and she's scared of what will happen if she's all she has. So that scene is kind of representing that moment of her character and her having to confront that fear face on. And it's sort of foreshadowing for why she almost takes Kylo's hand, because she so desperately she wants because just as she tells Luke, I want somebody to show me my place in all of this, it's kind of, I think, showing like only she can determine what her place is in all of this. So, but she wants someone to show her that badly. That's why, she comes to Luke. That's why she almost takes Kylo's hand, because he can give her a purpose and reason. And also he would mean that she is not alone. He would mean that she would have someone who she can rely on, who understands her, because I'm not a Reylo shipper, but I really do like Rey and Kylo as a platonic friendship, partially because and kind of like her and Finn, it is just two desperately lonely people who want someone to be there for them and to see past, for Rey to see her as a person, and I think for Kylo to see past like his names and all of this stuff. And I think that's like, part of why he, shatters the mask, and that was like, it allows Rey to like see him as one person. So that scene is just representative of her greatest fear, which is, and where that fear could lead her. That fear of being alone could lead her to the dark side, because that's what would happen if she had taken Kylo's hand, is that would have been her going to the dark side, accepting whatever, like the Empress Rey kind of deal. And that's why I love it so much, and that's why I think it's so fantastic for Rey's character, because the truth is she is never alone. She has Finn, most importantly, but she has Leia, she has Poe, she has the entire Resistance, she has Kylo and / Ben quite literally like connected to her, that they can talk whenever because of the dyad. And then
BB-8, even BB-8.
But then in the last scene where like, her fear is like she's alone and she won't be enough, then she has all of the Jedi who come and speak to her and show her that she is not alone, and that is the strength. And I think that is a really beautiful continuation of her arc, and explains so much. I think sometimes people miss that in Rey's character, that like at the crux of it, she really is just like a lonely girl who just wants a place to belong and people to care for her. And her fear of not having that is what drives her to the dark side. And I think also when people talk about wanting dark side Rey, I feel like that gets lost a lot. That like, I don't think Rey would fall to the dark side. I think Rey's fall to dark side would be this desperation to keep, almost like Anakin, to keep what she has, to keep the friends and to keep her place in belonging that she's found.
Yeah, I feel like that's the perfect way to look at it, because like
that was like perfect.
If you look at the trailer for Last Jedi, the main point at the end when it highlights Rey saying, "I want to know my place in all of this." Like that's basically just Rey's arc. If you really think about it in Last Jedi, just trying to figure out what is her place in all of this. Like, am I supposed to be the Jedi? Am I not? Like that's basically her arc in TLJ.
Mm-hmm.
And like, but her coming to understand Ben, and obviously those like Force time connections with Dyad and those type of scenes of Ben and Rey talking, and like Ben and Rey trying to understand Ben, and obviously like she even asks him like, why did you murder Han, before she goes right into the Darkseid cave, and then gives that let the past die speech, which people like always like misquote and misconstrue with what actually the meaning of that is.
No, it's like he's telling her, let the past die, kill it if you have to. That's what he's trying to do, and he's failing to do, because he tried to kill his father, and instead of clearing up and making him like fully Sith, it is instead just added to his conflict, and he's failing, and that's why he wants Rey to let go of the past, let go of, you know, who she thought she was gonna be and her family, and even the past of like who Luke Skywalker is, and what, because of what Luke did, what he is expected to do now, and what we eventually see him do, kind of be this hero again for the Resistance, and that's I love, and I love that quote so much. I feel like it is such a great quote, and such a great quote for those two characters in particular, and the arc that they go through, that like a lot of it is like, I feel like a lot of both of their arcs is accepting that like you shouldn't let go of your past, you should instead let it guide you. You move on from it, but you carry the lessons that it gave you. I think just as like, you know, you can look at, you know, Han or Kylo can't let go of the past in like this view of Vader, but then it is positive when he ends up completing Vader's mission of saving the person that he loves.
When talking Rey, like, let the past die with Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
She's, even though that's her family, or her
let the
past die.
Don't let Palpatine and what he did, and the fact that you're related to him, are like define who you're going to be now.
Yeah, and I feel like for the actual like thumbnail, I'll put the quote being something stronger than blood. I feel like, again, I feel like Kylo's is let the past die, and Rey's is some things are stronger than blood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then obviously moving forward into,
I just want to say that was like perfect. Like, the explanation was amazing.
Thank you. I feel like that's when people, that's what bothers me, when people try to say, oh, Rey never struggled. Because I think people associate in Star Wars, so often people associate struggle with like a physical thing, like Luke and Anakin struggled because they lost their arms in a fight, and like that is like a representation of their struggle. But like the Rey's is a lot more internal. It is her internally struggling with who she is, who she wants to be, and, you know, her past and her future and all of that. And I think that's, and I just wish people did not equate so much physical loss to struggle, because I think, you know, Rey's, to me, Rey's struggle is so relatable because of that. This fear of being alone, to me, is so relatable, and part of why she is my favorite Star Wars character, because I can look at her and I can say, yeah, I fucking, like, I feel that. I feel this fear of like, oh shit, what if it is just me? I'm all I have. But, and like her lesson growing of like, it's not, and it never was, and it never has to be.
And I think that's a product of the male-dominated storytelling for movies specifically, and TV shows. When we think of, like, you know, especially like those 80s action flicks, we never really see those action heroes deal with the emotions of what's going on, just the physical, like, oh, they're getting shot, or they're getting blown up, or they're, you know, getting stabbed, something to that effect. So when they do that to Luke and Anakin, you know, they're completely ignoring all the emotional trauma they're really going through, besides like when people think of the what Anakin does to the Tuscans, but then they only focus on the action in that scene, and then they sort of gloss over his whole moment with Padme, where he's frustrated with himself because he knows what he did was wrong. He still has anger in his heart. He knows he shouldn't feel that way. Mm-hmm. And then they're just like, oh, well, you know, Anakin got his arm cut off, so the penance. It's like, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah, and that's what I like about when you look. I know this is a little far, but like just kind of generally of the lineup of like The Force Awakens, Rogue One, Solo, and then Last Jedi, and then Solo is like it is a lot about the characters' like own internal struggles and loss in a way that isn't like physical, like Han. Like, and I think and especially a focus on what happens when you lose the one person that you thought could be your future. We see that with Han and not Han and Leia, Han and Rey. We see that with Han and Kira, and then Jin and Saw, which happens off screen, but is still a big motivator for her character.
I would even say Han and Luke for Rey, because she loses
Han
two
and
mentors.
Luke.
Yeah.
Yeah, because by the time Leia, like, she's more on her own, and I feel like she still feels the loss of that mentor, but like it was definitely more of like they had their time together, and I think Leia at that point really taught her like everything that she needed to know, or at least that like Leia could teach her. But yeah, this loss of like, and I think like the focus on like this loss of like what could have been, like what could have been if, you know, if Luke had been around to teach Rey more, if Han had been around, and like I was saying, like if she maybe decided that she or the Force never awoken in her or whatever, and she just decided that she was going to go off with Han.
Yeah, and again, like I love how right away at the end of TLJ, like Leia's right there to like pick Rey up and be like, no, we have more we can rebuild on, like the spark's not out.
We have everything we need.
Oh. And then I love the Rey's line of he died with peace and purpose.
Now, there is one thing that after I read the Last Jedi novelization confused me for like the first 30-40 minutes of The Rise of Skywalker. And it's right at the end where you see Rey about to board the Falcon, and she looks off and she sees Kylo. So we see it in the film. They have another Force connection here, and the novelization puts it, as Kylo stared at them, he sensed something else, a tremor in the Force, the prelude to a familiar connection. He stared at Rey. She stared back at him, her gaze level and unafraid. There was no hatred in her eyes as there had once been, but there was no compassion either. A moment later, Rey severed the connection, leaving Kylo alone in the gloom with his father's dice resting in the palm of his upraised hand. A moment later, they faded and vanished. Now, when it said severed connection, I was like, okay, so they're done. And then in like the first 5 minutes of The Rise of Skywalker, he's just like, FaceTiming Rey, FaceTiming Rey, FaceTiming Rey. Boom. I'm like, what just happened?
I wouldn't say. I feel like I kind of disagree with you. Obviously, when you're writing the novelization, I'm pretty sure Lucasfilm has such like a tight like lid on everything. So, like obviously they wouldn't be able to like use that to their advantage. But like I kind of see it, not them severing the connection, more of like, this might sound weird, but like Rey is basically shutting the door in his face.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's like severing, like she's choosing not to sever the connection forever, but like it's like a choice to like, I'm cutting you off for now.
I think she meant, I think if they didn't want to like steer into the skid of forced time calls, she would have said, or no, he would have said hung up. She just clapped that flip phone shut.
Her Motorola Razr?
Yes.
It's like a relationship. It's like we're taking a break.
Yeah.
From that.
Well, it worked.
But I also think that moment where it's when she severs the connection that the dice fade away. Because if you're looking for who his last connection to his father was, it would be Rey over Leia. Because he last saw his father with Rey. And we know he could not kill his mother.
He's a mama's boy.
I mean, I think when people were just like complaining about that after the movie, I was like, all right, y'all, it's one thing as a dude to kill your dad. It's another thing to kill your mama.
Mm-hmm.
Yo.
It's one thing to kill Han Solo, it's another thing to kill Princess Leia Organa.
That's also true. Also, Kylo Ren is Hamlet, but that's a different story.
That's yeah.
Yeah, I've been promising Julia that series for like 13 months and it still hasn't happened.
Is it bad that I've never read or seen Hamlet?
I hadn't read Hamlet until I was actually in the play, so you're good.
I was in high school, so it's not like I'm like reading Hamlet in my free time.
If you don't read it for school and you're not watching the movie, you're good.
Wait, so you were in a Hamlet like play?
Yes.
Production.
Solid. I want to watch that.
No, I have it, but no.
Hamlet watch along featuring Chris.
When?
If y'all aren't seeing that, y'all aren't seeing the musical either.
But anyway,
the music.
Oh, sorry.
Hold on. What musical were you in?
Do you not know that Chris is in like musicals?
You did it on Broadway?
You told me that.
Yeah,
you
I was.
Broadway?
No, God, no.
Oh,
I was in Matilda in the fall.
Chris was.
How did I not hear about this?
Chris played George Washington on Broadway in Hamilton.
Chris was.
Yeah, Chris Jackson is just my pseudonym.
Makes sense. I didn't know. So, like, how do you get bald? Like
Carefully.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that. That's awesome.
Oh my god.
Back to Rise of Skywalker.
With the Ross.
Or Rise of Skywalker. Wait.
Oh yeah, I did forget about Newsies, Pat, but we don't talk about Newsies. That was traumatic.
You were in Newsies?
I said we're not going to talk about that. That was traumatic.
Chris, when's your next one?
I don't know. It depends on when my theater company says, "Hey, we're going to do an adult film or adult production this time." That's why I changed it adult production because they did. They're doing Wizard of Oz Junior for the kids.
Very exciting.
Awesome! What the heck? How did I never know about this?
Hey, I've posted about it.
I haven't seen it. I guess I'm a fake fan.
You're fake.
Friend.
You're fake Star Wars.
I'm a fake friend.
Fake Star Wars lawyer fan confirmed.
Dang.
But anyway, you guys any thoughts on like Last Jedi before we move to Tross or?
The throne room scene is everything.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I love that scene. It's so good. And also like the moment between, once again, I know we've talked about it a little bit, but like the moment between her and Kylo is so good because I think like them fighting together and like him basically saving her is a really great representation of like, you know, Rey wants this, like she wants someone who has her back. She wants someone who she can be in sync with, but like she can't go to the dark side. And that, I mean, that's really beautiful when it's I would have taken Ben's hand instead of like I didn't want to take Kylo's hand. I wanted to take Ben's hand, and that's just it's such a good scene, and I love seeing like the dyad fight together, especially like when I've seen people like post comparisons like where they're like solo fight scenes and how you can see them using kind of the same moves. It's very good. And when he leaves her, yeah, like I think that's, and then his anger at her, like when she's flying the Falcon around, or I guess Chewie's flying the Falcon and she's shooting, of like this, like you basically rejected me, and I think he takes that very personally because like he wants Kylo Ren to be who he is, and it's just not, and she rejected Kylo Ren, and he's fucking mad. He's mad at that, no matter what their connection is. And also I think he's upset that once again he is kind of left alone and now really alone because he doesn't even have like Snoke as this weird manipulative mentor. He's supreme leader now, I guess.
Yeah, Kylo's that kid in the sandbox where he's like, no one can have my toys. I want to take them and go home. Except, Rey took his toy and she's flying with it. And he's just like, blow that piece of junk out of the sky.
It's such a good.
I want to read the Finn Rey hug moment because it's just like.
That's also such a good.
Aww.
It's like.
And then Rey and Poe meeting for the first time.
Yeah, that's odd considering the context around it now. Because
Yeah.
Colin Trevorrow wanted it in there because he wanted Rey Poe to be a thing, and Ryan Johnson's like,
No way.
okay.
Brian Johnson. The way that I'm glad J.J. Abrams like we're not doing that. That is
Well, no, that wasn't Ryan Johnson's thing. That was Colin Trevorrow's thing.
But the way that is Rey and Poe to me, I don't want to shame too much, but that just feels like the most forced heterosexual like bullshit. Like I'm like, here's this boy, like they haven't even met. They've interacted once and they were like, ooh, maybe. No.
He was a pilot, boy. She said, see you later, boy.
Chaco put it best. Rey and Poe makes you want to vomit.
Yeah, I like their dynamic better as BB-8's divorced parents. They're putting on a very brave face, trying to like each other because their son
Just
they share
for
custody
BB-8.
of their son BB-8, and also Finn has a crush on Poe, and so Rey's trying to be nice.
When I first read the Duel of the Fates, like I saw like the concept art and everything, and this one guy made a video where he did like claymation for it, and so like I saw that. Then like last year, I think I was talking to Nikolai about it, and he was just like, "Yeah, Rey Poe was in that," and I was like, "Wait, what?"
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and reread it and like watched the claymation. I was just like,
It makes it.
"Yeah."
There's no reason. There is no reason.
No
It's
reason.
a fine. I think it's like what's good. Don't want to like. If you ship it, because like it's fine and it's cute. It's cute, but like in the actual context of the story, I would have been pissed.
And she mind tricks him with a kiss and that, and I'm just
it's
like,
so weird.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's really weird. And it like
Ew.
feels really out of nowhere in that one too, because the context of like they have literally interacted once and their interaction was saying hi to each other.
yeah.
And again, I don't want to get too topic into like Duel of the Fates and like what could have been, but like when I read that script, there's like 50% of it where I'm like, okay, I get where this is coming from, and the other 50% I'm like, what are you doing?
I have not
just
read
like-
that.
It's like it's a first draft. I get it. I'm glad it was a first draft.
Not as unhinged as I guess this was an official one, but that one author who wrote he just like wrote an episode 9 script and he was like, Rey's a cyborg.
What?
What?
Like it's like at one point it's really weird. It's not like an official, it wasn't official at all. It was just like this one author, like I think it might have been Alan Dean Foster actually, who wrote, I think it might have been him
This
on
Alan
his
Foster?
website. Possibly, who on his website just published like a script for it, like his kind of take, and like Rey at one, I don't know if it was him or if it's another author who like wrote a Star Wars book.
Mhm.
But, like at one point, it's like a fight, like she's in a fight and like her head gets like chopped into, and it like reveals like a cyborg part, or like a droid part. So we're supposed to understand that. It's very weird.
Ew.
I feel like that guy has a robot.
Like I said, it was
fetish.
Alan Dean Foster. It's a very weird, and they like bring Luke back again, and then also have another scene where Luke like dies peacefully. I didn't really understand the double, but yeah, Cyborg Rey, truly haunting. I also think that had a weird scene where Snoke used to be hot. And he was like really attractive, and then he like fell into acid. And
Who is he? The Joker?
yeah, literally, it was really like the Joker, and it was like, but it was like explicit that like Palpatine was, or like Snoke was attractive.
It's funny
And
because
then he fell
Good
into
thing
the
these
acid.
were all fan theories and drafts.
I'm sorry, the still most cracked out fan theory. Well, there are two. The first one being that Finn was Leia and Lando's love child. Like
Mhm.
after like Han and Leia like split, Lando and Leia hooked up and made Finn, which I was like, timeline wise, that doesn't work because Finn is
It
older
has
than
to be
Rey,
fine.
and
5 now.
Yeah, and then the other one was Rey was going to be the reincarnation of Anakin. So that the Last Jedi, like, I am your father moment was like, you are my father, Rey. And I was just like...
I also wasn't the one...
Ew.
Wait, say that again?
She is Shmi Skywalker.
That was weird as well.
She goes back in time. There's a lot of weird theories. that was the one.
Sometimes Star Wars fans just need to stop.
There's
sometimes...
Sorry.
No.
I'll just say the one fan theory. It's like a. I don't even know. What's the one book about? It's supposed to be about Kylo and Rey, but it's not.
Oh. I know what you're talking about. I don't know what it's called though.
The Love Hypothesis?
Yep.
Oh, yep. I love that book. I'm not Raylo, but
what is that about?
It's a modern AU Raylo fanfiction that got published. So it's a Rey. Rey is, they fake date. So Rey is like a PhD or a master's student, and oh no, we lost Carter. It's not in the middle of explaining the love hypothesis.
No.
Carter,
and Rey is Rey's a PhD student, and
okay.
Kylo is a professor. Or it's Adam and Olive. That's their names in the Adam and Olive, and they have to fake date because the Rose character is likes a guy that Rey used to see, and so who is Hux. And so it's a lot. These don't matter because the dynamics are pretty different. But it does have so they fake date and then they end up actually like falling in love. Also there's background Finpo, where Poe's character is like Kylo's professor friend, and Malcolm, who is Finn, has a crush on him, and then they end up getting together.
Is this where they got Rose Hux? Is this where the Hux Rose shippers got started?
Hux Rose? No.
It was just a part of it because I think, to be fair, the personality of this character is absolutely nothing like Hux. You only know it's Hux because they say he has red hair, and that's really the only indication that it is Hux. But I guess it was kind of like, yeah, that, and also like if you want to ship Rey and Kylo and then Finn and Poe, but you still want to give Rose a romantic relationship, you don't have a lot of characters left.
Oh my god.
You just kind of have like, you're like, oh, I guess. But it's good. I appreciate it as a romance a reader, a big romance person. I enjoy it. I did not read the fan fiction when it was a fan fiction because once again I'm not really a Raylo, but as a romance book, very good. Not
Books.
It's fun if you're a Star Wars fan because like that, like you said, like you can see like who the characters are supposed to be, and you like pick up, you're like, oh, that's Finn. That's fun.
I just love how the entire chat is just exploding with Rose and Hux.
I know.
Brooke says like no he is both gay and homophobic. That is true.
Brooke says no Rose Hux shippers got started from the deleted scene of The Last Jedi where Rose bites Hux.
Okay, so like I have a list of questions that I have to ask Rian Johnson, like if I ever got to interview him, and that's like number 4. It's like, why did you write this? Why did you think this was okay? Where she bites him.
Rose.
No, but it's like the way it's shot, right?
Oh, okay.
The way it's shot, I'm just like,
the way like
because he's just kind of like
rubs her face. It's so weird.
Yeah, I'm just like, please no.
I'm also pretty sure that there has been a published Finpo fanfic as well. I'm not sure of the title, but it's another one that if you look at the cover, it kind of is like, yeah, that's Finn and Poe. But that's fun. So I feel like it's only a matter of time before we get like a Kylux fanfiction published.
Oh my god.
So that'll be a good rival. Probably like I could see that like an academic rivals to lovers story.
Oh.
He's watching the scene.
I'm watching the deleted scene. Why is it shot like that? Why does he do that?
Maybe that's why it was deleted. Ryan watched that back and was
She
"Ooh."
looks up at him like, well, she's on
trying to
her
be
knees,
innocent.
and he's like, and then he puts the choke thing around her, and then
No.
Ugh.
Somebody watched that back and was like, "Hey, I don't care what you were intending with this scene. It's gotta go.
It's like, this is horrible.
Gotta go."
Just whatever editor was just like, Ryan, no. I'm just high five you. You get a high five. Let me go buy you some coffee.
That is so bad. That is so bad. Why was that ever made a thing?
Chaco.
Not tarantula.
Not only shot it for his personal collection.
No, stop.
Just Grievous. This will be another fine addition to my collection.
I just love the Tarantino comment. It feels like Tarantino when he shoots feet.
At least it's not Dan Schneider with feet. Anyway.
What is this?
Anyway, Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
What
So
is
the Rise of Skywalker, where there aren't any feet.
And no awkwardly shot biting scenes.
Yes.
Just our giant slug mechanic.
Yeah.
Oh my. I'm still not over it.
That is so bad. It's
So-
bad.
I think I've told Hereth this for the Rise of Skywalker, but I went in, like, I had read, like, the leaks, like, the massive leaks that came out, and I was just like, oh, none of this is true. Okay, that might be true. None of that is true. Then I went in, I was watching the movie, and I was just like, and then I just hear Han in the back of my mind. It's true. All of it. And I was like, oh, so she real life a Palpatine. Huh. Don't take that last name, girl. Don't do it.
That was not my favorite decision, but I've come around to like it more.
But I was gonna ask, so I know for the Rise of Skywalker leaks, wasn't it John Boyega who accidentally leaked it because he left the script at like a hotel he was staying at, and then somebody found it?
No, so that's not where the leaks came from. The leaks came from just people leaking No Way Home. Like, people were on set, people knew someone that was an extra, and they just went to town. I think that's just a Disney problem in general, but with their live action movies, because it's very hard to leak animated stuff. But yeah, no, they just went to town on everything.
Yeah, and again, going back to like focusing on like Rey's arc, we got really off track. I was enjoying the conversation. I'm enjoying the conversation, but it was funny. I'm kind of mad, like, talking about it with people in VC. Like, I get why they did it, but like, I kind of hate how in the opening crawl, the first thing it said is Rey's been training for a year. It's like, really?
Yeah, I think the training scene is cool, and I like it from the perspective of, I think it's cool if you're a Rey fan to see how far Rey has advanced. In, like, you know, we go from her as like, you know, she's a good fighter. We see that with her staff, and like, she's had to defend herself for a lot of years, but like, this is different than hitting some people on Jakku with a stick.
Yeah.
Now you have a light stick, so it's different. But yeah, it was a little like, I remember I was like, really, did we need this? Because I remember Luke and Anakin having a scene where we started the movie with them. I guess like but I would say, I was gonna say Luke, but Luke's Yoda scenes are much more comparable to Rey's Luke scenes. And that is fine, and I think because that's their kind of training arc. But I always have mixed feelings on that, because it does a little bit feel like we're trying to like appease a little bit people who are upset that Rey didn't train enough or whatever. I mean, I know they were shooting this, you know, before, but those complaints existed when The Force Awakens came out. So
yeah,
I think for me, it comes down to like, okay, we know that Rey has a teacher versus Luke doesn't go back to Dagobah for whatever reason. You can't even say for this point it was just like trying to rescue Han because it didn't take 18 months to do that or whatever. But I think when I think the best comparison is like looking from A New Hope to Empire and the opening crawl to Empire versus for The Last Jedi to Rise of Skywalker, because with Luke, it says like he is leading the freedom fighters, and it's just like, well, Luke's not leading much of anything. But yeah, that's what our hero's been up to for the past 3 years. He's been leading the fight, whereas we know through the material that we've gotten externally that they weren't doing as much fighting. In between, they were more like gathering resources. So at the same point, like, she was just training. And even if we didn't get that line, Poe still gives us that line. He's like, what you been doing here? Running around the forest while I'm out there hyperspeed skipping? You did what? Nothing.
So I was gonna ask, this sort of relates because I haven't read Resistance Reborn, Chris, but I know you have. Have you read Resistance Reborn?
I haven't. I want to, but I have not yet.
I have not either.
Is there anything from Resistance Reborn with Rey and Leia, or is it just not touched?
I'm trying to think because it's been a minute. I read the last thing I read more recently during that time period was the comic. I do know Resistance Reborn has one of my favorite Finn, Rey, Poe moments. But I think I want to say it focuses more on Ryloth than Finn or Rey and Leia specifically.
Okay.
I know there are probably moments in there I just can't remember right now. Because I know, like, the last time I was thinking about Resistance Reborn, I was focusing on Ryloth because I was trying to find Kasha, and then the Finn, Rey, Poe moment where Finn and Rey are like talking and they're having like this intimate discussion, and Poe kind of walks in and like Rey leaves and he's like, did I interrupt something? He's like, Finn's like, no. He's like, are you sure? Is there not something going on between you and Rey? He's like, no, we're just friends. And he's like, how about you and Rose? He's like, there was a moment, but we're just friends. And Poe is just like, man, I can't keep up with you and you're just friends.
But also, why are you asking? Why are both of you asking that question? Interesting. Why do you care? What's your reason for caring, Finn and Poe, about who the other is dating? Interesting.
What is the reason?
What is the reason? What are you suggesting?
Poe, why you want to know about Finn's love life so much? You trying to get into it?
What's your just friends? Is it because you two, he said that you two were just friends? Interesting. Are you hoping?
And then, again, kind of going back to the Red Skywalker, because then, again, I wanted to ask for Resistance Report.
Carter, we can't hear you.
Carter.
You sneezed yourself out of sound.
Your sneeze was so powerful, your mic said nah. We can hear you now. I think.
Hello?
We can hear you. Yeah, you're good.
We hear now.
We hear now.
I just realized I've been connected to my AirPods the entire time, and it's been the AirPods microphone, not my actual microphone.
Oh, I thought you knew that.
Thanks, Chris.
My bad. I thought you knew that.
No, I
Being
didn't.
helpful.
I was looking at the audio stream.
Sorry for the sound quality, everyone.
No, I was looking at the audio stream the entire time. Your audio sounded good. Like, I'm not even.
Yeah, it sounded good. It just like since I have AirPods, I know what they sound like.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, everyone.
But like I said, like, anyway, I just wanted to ask for Resistance Reborn because I didn't know if there was a moment or anything there hinting to that. But again, like, kind of moving to like the Red Skywalker with like moving to more towards, obviously they couldn't do it due to Carrie Fisher's passing, sadly. But I wanted to kind of focus on like Rey and Leia's like mentorship. I feel like that's obviously a huge part of that film.
I love that. And I like how visually they make that known, because Rey wears her all white outfit with the hood, and I love that connection to Leia, and also to a lesser extent, but still Padme as like a Skywalker woman, because like they each three get an all white outfit, and I have a lot of actually analysis on that and why like those three get an all white outfit versus why like we never really see Jin or Kira in one, but that's not for this time.
Kira gets the all black outfit.
Yeah, there's a difference there. I think there's a very specific reason why Kira and Jin are specifically given darker colors versus a lot of what we see like Padme and Leia in and Rey. But I love that mentorship just because I love Leia so much, and I think it's also really cool to see the first female Star Wars character being a mentor to who was our first female protagonist and like main character. So for the audience, that's a really nice moment. I think for Rey, it's just like she kind of has that. She finally has that like mother figure, and Leia is, I think, so caring. And I also really like how they bring in that, like, you know, her force sensitivity and how she was, you know, training to be a Jedi, and how that allows her to pass her, that like the Jedi and the force sensitive part of her legacy onto Rey as she is passing sort of the rebel senator political one to Poe. I think that's really beautiful when you think about that character and their legacy. And also I just love every moment that like Rey and Leia are together. I love how much Leia like touches her and like reassures her in that way. And that hug from the trailer still really gets, and it feels like a really beautiful like send off to like Carrie too, when like, you know, yeah, like that she is the first Star Wars woman and she's passing the baton to the next generation and the next group of women who just as you know, all those women were inspired by Leia, now all these women get to be inspired by Rey. And not only that, but like they get to see them on screen together and getting to see them as like the wonderfully like badass and competent women that they are.
There's when Rey like hugs Leia, and like I'm still curious how they got the line of like, Rey, never be afraid of who you are, because I knew they had it coming from deleted scenes, and I've watched them all over. I'm like, where did they get that? Like,
they might have just like
it may have been from The Last Jedi too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
there's always a possibility. Yeah,
but that's such a good
they could use. I'm sure there's some technology out there that they could sound good enough.
You can splice like different.
Like what they did with Alec Guinness.
The Force Awakens, and I think that's what they might have done for some of the Jedi too as well, because I don't know if they actually got everyone to like record their.
Oh no,
I don't know if they. Oh, they did. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I know some of them.
The only person was Alec Guinness, and they spliced things.
Yeah, they can't.
Right, you know, he's been one with the Force for a while. I think one of my things about The Rise of Skywalker is it gives us this beautiful blade. I wish she had it at the beginning.
Yeah.
Apparently,
I prefer this over everyone's idea of like, oh, she should have had a double-sided blade.
I want both.
I mean, yeah, but I think like when you're looking at it, like I think it's maybe Duel of the Fates concept, or there's some concept art where she had just a blue double-sided lightsaber, where I feel like this one is so perfect for her character because it's the part of the staff, and I think the yellow is also really perfect for her character. Like I like how they gave her a slightly less traditional lightsaber color, and also just like I feel like it fits so well. Like Rey is a ray of light for the galaxy, and this yellow of like, you know, the sun. I really like Rey's weapons. I don't know if I can go on this little rant, but I think it's so significant what each of Rey's weapons represent. She has her staff at the beginning, which is what she uses on Jakku and what she uses to defend, and that represents her past and who she was. And then she has the blaster that Han gave her, which represents past not taken, or that couldn't be taken, because that's probably what she would have used had she gone with Han, had she been able to go with Han, because, you know, the Force prevented her from doing that. And then she has the lightsaber, the legacy lightsaber, which is representing her new path as a Jedi. And in The Rise of Skywalker, she carries and uses all three. So it's this balance of everything. But in the end, we just see her with this one, which is made up from her old staff, which is that no matter what, she will always carry with her the girl that she was on Jakku. She will always remember her past, but now she has fully accepted her place in the story. She has found her belonging, and she can go forward as this new Jedi Master. And I think that's really beautiful. And I like how like the kyber crystals, like when you see it flashes the blue and the green. And I think that's very nice for like the Luke and the Leia connection with them being her masters.
I'm trying to figure out where she got the green kyber crystal, because
I don't know.
Luke's lightsaber is still in Octo.
Yeah,
I had to dig deep to find that, because I was like doing a AU where I was just like, oh well, Finn got captured by Kylo Ren and he turns Finn to the dark side and he gives Finn Luke's lightsaber because he went and got it. And I was like, oh, Kylo took it with him because he was just like, you know what, Luke?
Whoa.
I like the yellow legacy saber, or like yellow lightsaber legacy that is being built up, because you have loaded from High Republic, and I think Ram also has a yellow one, and then Luke had his yellow one that he used for a while, and I like that little path connection.
And I was gonna say on the comment of where you said where the green lightsaber
And Marshall.
and Marshall. I was say on
Marky
Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
What did you just say?
It's Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
The Funky Bunch are in an aisle.
Right, this is the name for the mile, the Funky Bunch.
Funky Bunch.
Marky Bunch? Wait, so like a Marky Bunch and the Funky Bunch?
No, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. That's where Mark Wahlberg came from. Do you know that, Carter? That's where Mark Wahlberg came from. He was a rapper.
What?
This is the Rey High Republic pipeline that I But also, I want to point out that a really great part in the High Republic that I noticed immediately in the Rising Storm, they say that part of what makes a good Jedi is forgiveness and being able to forgive someone. And I love that because I think that's perfect for Rey in this film specifically, but with Kylo. That like part of what makes Rey a great Jedi is because she's willing to forgive and give Kylo a second chance, and she's willing to let him be. Ben Carter's still laughing.
Carter's still laughing. Sorry, I'm like, I love how like you're making this great point about like who Rey is a character, how at least the High Republic, and Carter's over here like trying to hide himself.
I love that they put that moment in the High Republic because I felt like it just connected so well to that, and like I mean it does connect to Luke I think too, and like Vader, but I felt like especially for when people do their little Rey's not a true Jedi. Okay, well then what about that? What about the fact that she is in her entire thing with Kylo, she is embodying what it means to be a Jedi, and what it means to carry on. I think the best parts of the Jedi, because like when we're talking about the High Republic, that's like kind of the Jedi's prime, and we're slipping a little, but but like when we're talking about like Rey sort of going back, and I think like it would be cool to see Rey in future media for that reason, because I'd honestly love to see if she could learn about some High Republic Jedi some way. Particularly, I think like someone like I don't know, Stellana, or this is like any of the Firebrands, but also like Loden would be so cool.
Rey's gonna find an Elzar holocron, and Finn's gonna find an Avar Kriss holocron.
Oh my god, that would be incredible.
Or in one of Luke's.
Even I feel like Rey learning about Vern would be. I would love that, and the fact that Vern maybe still has potential to like she's younger, so we still don't know like a lot of what she does and what she can do. So I think Rey learning about like Vernestra would be so cool.
Well, and maybe in one of Luke's books, there's something about the Republic.
And isn't it in the comic like Luke just recently? I don't know if this is a spoiler, but Luke actually like gets a vision of Elzar Man.
Yes.
So I mean, like even in that
beautiful
like,
boots.
Yeah, and his the Jedi Chanel boots.
Yeah, I was in Star Wars 2020.
2020, yeah, the material girlification of Elzar Mann. But like that, in that case, like if we saw future media, like where you see like, you know, Rey, if all the Jedi like come to her, but it's a moment where like maybe she communicates with like the other like Jedi, like Avar, or you know, if she's training Finn to be a Jedi, they both get visions of like different High Republic Jedi. Yeah.
I want a Bell and Finn connection.
I was just gonna say that.
My heart would just. It's like, look at my boys.
Yeah, just.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
You go. No, you go.
I was just thinking, is this like Rey in the Rise of Skywalker when she's fighting Kylo Ren on the Death Stars in her Qui-Gon era? Because like if you read the novelization, she's just like, I'm gonna die here, but I'm gonna die on my feet. And then she's like, not throwing away my shot. Stab.
I'm not throwing away my shot.
I think the Rise of Skywalker, as I do have issues with the film, but I've grown to like it a lot more over it. I do feel like it is a really great conclusion to Rey's story. I feel like they really perfectly wrapped up and concluded a lot of her arc. Like I said, like it's like she fully accepting her place in the story, being unafraid to go up and face Palpatine, like even though she was like really resistant to even like pick up a lightsaber in the first one. Like I said, was saying before, the All the Jedi scene is like this round out moment of like, you are not alone because the Force is with you, and through the Force you are connected to like all of these people and like past Jedi. Is really beautiful. I like a lot of her moments with Finn where like it's very clear that like that's just another like example, like she just loves him and she wants to protect him and make sure that he is safe, and like also like she does tell him quite a bit that like she does not seem to tell other characters. So knowing that she has like, once again, just that person always, even if she thinks that she has to be alone, like she doesn't, because they are there. I think it's a very good conclusion to her story, and I don't feel that the Palpatine thing ruins that, because I think sometimes people put a little too much on like Rey Nobody, which like I really liked Rey Nobody. I liked this idea that like greatness doesn't have to come from a name, but and I was a little upset initially because I was like, it feels like maybe they're just like kind of trying to backpedal on that, but I do think that it adds an interesting dynamic, like I was saying, of like, you know, she is trying to now reckon with like, she was nobody and now she's related to this thing, and like, but it's still, she is who she wants to be. Just because she was a nobody on Jakku, a scavenger on Jakku, she doesn't need to be that forever. She can choose, just as she doesn't need to be like a Sith like Palpatine. And also I really think it creates a cool dynamic that like Palpatine originally was what made the Skywalkers fall to the dark side, and it is a Palpatine that ends up bringing them back. And I think that's a really cool moment to have, and really interesting, because yeah, like if Anakin fell by a Palpatine, she helps bring Ben Solo Skywalker back. And that's very, very wonderful, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you go, Chris.
I think that anything, any problems that I have with the Rise of Skywalker don't really have to do with Rey. Besides, I mean, I wanted more of this bad boy. But I think that there is a lot of misinterpretation of what Rey goes through in that film from people that love her and also people that hate her.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they, you know, people interpret that scene on the Death Star where they're like, Rey's keeping up with Kylo, and I'm like, I need y'all to watch that again. She is out of breath. She is hammering away, and he's just like,
Kylo beats her in that duel, fair and square.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is trying to tire her out, so then he can be like, all right, remember that time in The Force Awakens when like I stopped you and then carried you on the ship? I'm gonna do that again. Rerun. Sequels are better than the first time around. Let's go. Time to go see your granddaddy.
Again, this is all about positivity with Rey, but like I feel like people like you said, misinterpret like what happens in the duel and what happens with Rey's arc, like what happens with her character, just in general, full stop. And like you said, that duel is a perfect example of like, oh, Rey wins all her duels. I'm like, no, she doesn't.
No, she doesn't. She doesn't win a single one.
She was just like almost
well,
every
also,
single one.
I feel like some people forget it's like, yeah, like, sure, if you throw Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver in a pit and give them sticks, yeah, I'm sure Adam Driver is going to take her physically.
He was a Marine.
Like, he's a Marine, he's a fucking 6 foot, like, giant man, and she is a 5 foot whatever woman, like, little woman. But that's not what the plot needs. And that's a good action scene shouldn't just be an action scene. It should compel the plot forward. And I feel like that's what the sequels do really well, is the action scenes really do push the plot forward and say a lot about the characters and who they are. And like that scene, like, I mean, it is incredible watching that duel to see how far Rey has come since the first duel between her and Kylo. But we still see her, like struggling, but like the plot needs her to win. Like it's like the plot to move forward, it needs her to win. And I don't think that it's like, it's not that like it's, and you're right, she didn't really win, but like also like that, like he got distracted, but like she was holding her own, and it doesn't matter because what's important in that scene is that Leia reaches out to her son and she stabs him, and that's the moment that he really starts his turn, and that's what's important. And that what is important is the ending fight of their frustration that, you know, I wanted to keep your hand, but I wanted to take Ben's hand. That she wants him to be better, and that is the core of that scene. Not Rey shouldn't have won.
Yeah, that's like perfectly said.
Yeah.
Your mama named you Ben. I'm gonna call you Ben.
And go back to what we were saying earlier about the whole Palpatine and Skywalker thing is, and like Rey taking Skywalker name is, I really, really like how it kind of just wraps up the entire saga, because throughout the entire saga there's this constant feud between Skywalker and Palpatine, and then finally in the end the Palpatine, who the blood Palpatine is who takes the Skywalker name, so it kind of just shows how they triumphed over that.
No, I would say Palpatine redeemed Skywalker, because if Palpatine seduced a Skywalker to the dark side, now Palpatine redeemed a Skywalker to the light side.
Yeah.
Well, also, if we want to talk about like found family in Star Wars, this is just that to the next level. It's just Rey saying like, this is where I found my family and people who cared about me. And I know that people say like, oh, well, she should have taken on Solo, even though as much as I do love Han and Rey, I don't think that they spent enough time together for her to be like, let's take on that name. But it's about like the fact that like, yeah, like Luke and Leia were her family, and not only that, but like they also like were her masters in being a Jedi. So not only is she able to, I think, carry on the Skywalker name for her own self and remembering who those people were to her and how important they were, but also just for like kind of the galaxy, that like she can be the next like great Skywalker level hope, that she can now carry on the legacy of Luke as this Jedi who, you know, saved the galaxy. As, you know, even Leia, who, you know, she uses multiple last names, but like as like Leia did when she like, you know, consistently fought for the rebellion and tried to rebuild this new government. So I think it's beautiful. It wasn't, once again, at first it was a choice that I felt unsure about, but since then I really come around to appreciating it and liking it. And I kind of think it was something that they would have done anyway, because I think if they would have kept her as Rey Nobody, she probably still would have taken on the name. I think people try to act like she's just taking on the name so she doesn't get associated with Palpatine, and I don't think that is true at all. I think it is because she genuinely feels connected to the Skywalker name, and that is her real family, not this random grandpa man who like technically didn't even treat her dad as like a son. It was a clone that he cast off. Like, he didn't care. He doesn't care about Rey as his granddaughter. He cares that she's a Force user and he can use her power.
I do have an honest question. Does that honestly make him her grandfather? Because it's his clone, not his son. So wouldn't that be daughter?
Does that make Jango not Boba's father?
Oh, true.
He is his clone. He only calls him that because
He wanted to keep.
yeah.
That's a.
That's a really good way to like put that in the
That's a
question.
spicy question.
That's why generally with Rey, I prefer to say that like they're related because of the whole like cloning thing, and the thing that I think like it's not like Palpatine had a parental role in her father's life at all. Whereas like I think like the difference between that and like Jango versus Boba is like Jango was a father to Boba. He like raised him. Like, even if they are genetically the same, like he in title is a father. In the way that in title, I don't think Palpatine is a grandfather or a father. Matter.
And we'll get more on Rey's father in Shadow of the Sith, but it's kind of just like, okay, was he like born a man or was he a child and was just raised on Exegol? And they're just like, okay, we're gonna let him think he snuck off, right? Because we want to see if he can actually, you know, create a human that is Force sensitive. So you leave the back door open and we'll just pretend he escaped. But I think with Palpatine and Rey's relationship, there are the people that are like, oh, well, she should take the name Rey Palpatine and redeem it. And I'm just like, she would have to live her whole life to undo what Palpatine did, because you have what happened during the Imperial reign. So that's about 20 years. You have 13 years in the Clone Wars, and then his manipulations from the Phantom Menace. So really, you're talking about like 40 years of this man gaslighting the galaxy. And now you're just like, okay, well, now she has to do it. Like, why does she have to live her name in the darkness to try and bring it to the light when she has done what other Skywalkers have done in saving the galaxy? She's stepping into that legacy role. The name Skywalker means something, and it's generally associated with the light, because it's not until really not too long before The Force Awakens that people find out that Anakin Skywalker was Darth Vader. But still, the legend of Luke Skywalker reigned supreme in that time frame. So for her to take that on, and people were like, you know, 5 years down the road when she's doing something in the galaxy, and they were like, oh, who are you? It's like, I'm Master Rey Skywalker. They were like, just gonna be like that Leo DiCaprio meme. You know, like I don't understand it. It's not like people wanted Luke to take on the name like Luke Vader or something like that, you know. And then some people were like, well, she should have done Rey Solo, and I'm like,
I get it, and I get also when people are saying because like it was Ben, but I also feel like probably the reasoning is like, if she knew that Ben was called Ben Solo, then she's kind of like, that's like, it's leaving that to him a little bit more.
The people I see making that argument aren't saying it for that reason. They're saying it for like Han, because they want to make it weird that Rey and Ben kiss. And I was just like, you don't need to do that on its own. Like there's already a whole conversation about that whole ship. You don't need to try and make it anything other than what it already is.
I get upset when people act like they're like, well, she's not biologically a Skywalker. I was like, literally no one is saying that. No one has ever been like Rey Skywalker because she's actually related to Luke. Like, everyone knows that she's just taking it on by name, and it's because she didn't ever have a family name to call her own. I think that's also where people get the confusion, where people are saying like, oh, well, then it's like Ahsoka Skywalker. Ahsoka didn't it wasn't like, I want a family and I want people to call my own. That's not her arc. That's not the arc of, or like the arc of like, if Ezra, or I guess Ezra is like different, but like, you know, like that's not like Ahsoka's arc, even if we don't know her family. Like that's not what she is about. Part of Rey's journey was, I want a family. And it's not that I think she wants the sky. I'm sure she understands the power that the Skywalker name holds, but I also really feel like a big part of that is like, those are the people who gave me a family. That when she thinks about the people who were able to guide her and make her feel like she had a place to belong, like she had a purpose, it was the Skywalker family. And that, I think that could extend out to Ben and to Han as well, because he was married into the Skywalker family. And, you know, Leia had multiple last names that she went by.
Yeah, and again, kind of like ending on this guy just pulled a page from the Hereth Productions, which is literally the last page of her. People like it's very shot in the film where it's like very obvious like what the intent of that scene is. Rey's going to say Skywalker, but the novelization like shows it even more. And Luke literally looks at her and goes, "It's yours, Rey. Take it."
Yeah, I really don't understand why. I mean, granted, I think the author probably did that more than Lucasfilm, but it's really like bring Mark Hamill in for like an hour, you know, give him a sandwich and just be like, hey, step into the ADR booth, say this line, thanks, bye. Like, but that's a different story. I remember I because, you know, the last month was when, you know, like the 2-year anniversary. And so like my Facebook statuses came around and I was just like, I think about it then, I think about it now. It was corny and campy, but it's Star Wars. And so it was just like, you know, I thought they were going to go with, she's going to call the new Jedi Skywalkers, but she didn't. Or she still may. Who knows?
Well, that's it too. Is like, this really leads into like, I feel like people like forget, like Rey is 21 or 20.
20, yeah.
He's 20 years old. That is so much. We saw what was the equivalent of like a year in her life.
Correct.
There is so much that she can do, that she probably will do, given how much material, I know both in Legends, but even now in canon, we have gotten about what Luke and Leia and Han were up to between the trilogies, and even before with things like Leia Princess of Alderaan and Solo, that like there's so much left of Rey's story to explore if they want to, because, and the truth is like, it's Star Wars, so like the piece is never going to keep in the galaxy forever, even if it is just small things, but like, you know, peace is never going to keep in the galaxy. They're rebuilding a new government. There's plenty of reasons why Rey might be involved in conflict.
Yeah. And honestly, oh, sorry, Chris, you can go.
I was going to say, and hopefully she lives longer than her Skywalker predecessors who all died in their 50s, minus Shmi.
Han got a little bit. 60s.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's because Han was a little bit older, but Anakin, Luke, and Leia all died at like the age of 53 or something like that. It's not a good year for the Skywalkers.
Yeah. Let's hope she lives more of that Calrissian life. Well,
she lived 78.
78 and still kicking around the galaxy.
But honestly, I think what Emma's saying about what we're going to see Rey in next is kind of a good place to kind of end it off with. So we're going to just do again, who are you, where can we find you, and what do you want to see Rey in next? Or if you could greenlight one Rey project, what would it be? We'll go M first, since you kind of brought up the whole thing.
So once again, you can find me on TikTok at StardustM or on Twitter at _StardustM. I think there are two things. One, I would really like to see a Rey young adult novel that follows her time on Jakku pre The Force Awakens. I think just exploring kind of like more of her life and feelings, and maybe a small level conflict, or even like her working on the Falcon would be cool, and I think would work as a cool base to establish her character. And then going forward, I'd really like to see, like, I think like Jedi Master Rey, with Finn as a Padawan, and then with kind of this also background of Poe and Rose working to rebuild a government in the galaxy. I think it would be really cool too. I mean, I'm not like super for like combining a bunch of characters, but like it is very possible that someone like Ezra is still alive because he would be the same age as Luke or Leia. So like if we could get like, you know, Rey on this journey, like as we were saying, to like learn more about the Jedi, in part because she's trying to train Finn to be a Jedi, and maybe she's trying to assess how, you know, she wants to build out this new order, or how, you know, her and Finn might want to build out this new order, and going to different Jedi and asking them for their perspectives, because someone like Ezra is going to have a really different perspective than someone like Luke had.
Don't even say that.
Or like someone like, you know, if Ahsoka is also still alive, like someone like Ahsoka is going to have a much different experience than Ezra had. Someone like, I don't know, like Jason Syndulla, if he ended up being force sensitive, like Cal Kestis, like if these people ended up, you know, being force sensitive, or Jason.
Cal might be a little bit old.
But I mean,
Yeah, he wouldn't be too old. He'd be around the same age as Luke and Leia. Yeah.
No. Cal's
So, like,
14 years older, right?
Well, so he'd be Mark Kanan's age, but it's very possible that
He'd be around Han's age in The Force Awakens,
Yeah,
so he'd still be fine.
But like I think that would be cool, and exploring more of her as a Jedi and like that path. And also I'd just be interested in like what the galaxy looks like after the First Order, because I know they never achieved the power of the Empire, but like that's still quite a bit of like reassessing, and like especially since the New Republic was already kind of like on rocky ground before the First Order really rose, like kind of this assessment of that, and and kind of what it means to deal with like a legacy, like how this kind of struggle of like, you know, she's taking on the Skywalker name, but like that does carry a lot of weight, and maybe she's struggling with that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's awesome. But thanks for coming on again, Em. And Chris, same thing to you.
I am Chris, aka Star Wars Lawyer. You can find me on TikTok and Twitch and Instagram at Star Wars Lawyer, and on Twitter at Chris_SWL. I also have a podcast, Too Black, Too Nerdy, where you can listen to that wherever you listen to podcasts. And a Rey story that I had to think about this while Em was talking, because I was just like, I don't want it to have to do with Finn, because everybody knows what I want with Finn. So I think this could fit in the YA context, or it could be an adult novel where it's the next sort of year after the Rise of Skywalker, where, you know, Rey spends some time on Tatooine learning like the history of the Skywalkers there from anything she can, but she also goes to other places. So she goes to like Corellia for Han. She goes to Naboo for not only Padme, but also Sheev, and learning that history. She finds the Alderaanians wherever they are. They're floating on their ship, and she's learning about each part of where she comes from, and is like saying like, okay, this is the stock that I come from, and how she's going to carry that into the future. And you can also go, like, she's already been to October, you could go Coruscant for the Jedi Temple. You can go to other places as well. Yeah.
wow.
So just going to
Lando
different places.
introduced Kira and Rey challenge.
Lando's like, oh no. Look who's back.
But yeah.
But
Oh, sorry, you go, Carter.
no, you got it. You can close it out.
But yeah, I feel like that's a kind of like a good, again, just capped on the end on. And since Carter uses the May Force with you, I'm gonna flip the script. May the Force be with you.
For light and for life.
There are more of us.